I would rather packaging work than just look pretty. I'm actually incredibly shocked that I didn't like this. I know I'm super late, but it is time once again for a drugstore Shop My Stash update and rotation. If you're unfamiliar with what Shop My Stash is, it is a video series where I go through my existing makeup collection and pick out things to try more long term. Since I am a full-time beauty blogger and YouTuber, it's really easy for me to get caught up in what's new and do a lot of first impressions. But this allows me not only to rediscover old favorites, but also test products like a normal consumer would as part of a regular routine. I'm excited to share my thoughts on what I've been testing out the past month and a half, but first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Miranda. Welcome to my channel where we talk all things budget beauty. If that sounds interesting to you, then become the newest member of the Slashed Squad by hitting subscribe and the bell icon. Let's start out by talking about the foundation that I chose to test over the past 6 weeks. This is the Kokie Full Cover Foundation, and I had to mix two shades, 40W and 60W, which actually created like the perfect match for me. So Kokie is a budget-friendly brand that can be found in some Walmart locations as well as Sally Beauty. They are very affordable, and I've really liked everything that I've tried from them so far, including this foundation. This is a full coverage matte foundation, and I was really surprised with how smooth my skin looked when I applied this. The coverage is flawless. It just evened out everything beautifully without needing to add more concealer or color correct or anything. So that's always what I look for in a foundation, to just do all the jobs. Now this is a matte foundation at its core. It doesn't feel dry, but you do sort of have a powdery finish. It worked out well for my combo skin, especially because it's summer and I'm kind of more oily anyway, but I'm not sure how well it would work if you do have dry skin. Lasting power, super impressive. The coverage lasted all day, and it performed really well under my face mask with very little transfer. Here's my main complaint though about this foundation, and it actually has to do with the packaging. So we do get these really luxe looking and feeling glass bottles. They're frosted glass with this rose gold detail. I think they're gorgeous and they really do look high end, but the problem comes in the pump. The hole on this pump is way too small and it got clogged really quickly. This foundation is like a medium consistency. I wouldn't necessarily call it thick, but it's definitely creamy and it dries down quickly. So it took maybe a week and a half for me to completely clog this hole and not really be able to clear it anymore. After that happened, I actually had to twist off the entire pump and just apply the foundation on the back of my hand to then dip my sponge in and apply it to my face. Here's my thing. I would rather packaging work than just look pretty. They could have put this in a really ugly, cheap plastic bottle, but if the pump worked, I would have been so much happier. And this happened on both of my shades as well, so I don't think that it was necessarily like a flaw in one of them. But when it comes to the actual formula, I really like it. I believe it's about $13.99 at Sally, but I really think it does have a lot of qualities of a high-end foundation. Next, let's talk about the brow product I chose, which was probably the product I was most nervous about using long term. The Revlon Color Stay Brow Shape and Glow Pen. So this was the first felt tip brow product that I ever used, period, I think, let alone long term. And there's definitely a learning curve with this type of tool. So with a felt tip brow pen, I've learned that you really have to work in short strokes that mimic the natural direction your hair is growing in, and then you end up with almost a microbladed appearance, or like a brow tint appearance. The end result, which you can see today, is pretty natural yet still very defined. So I do like how my brows look when I use this. However, I felt myself having the same frustrations as I usually do with felt tip products, although usually those are liners. After using it for a little bit, the felt tip does start to sort of bend out of shape, which means you don't have as much control. I also felt like the felt tip was a little bit inconsistent at how much product it dispensed. So sometimes I would maybe press just a tiny bit too hard and suddenly I had a big glob of liquid on my brow, and it's not really easy to blend this through as you would a pomade or a pencil product. Also, my main gripe with this particular product is that it was in no way waterproof or sweat proof, and now that it's really hot out, that just won't do. Now this one also came with like this little highlighting smudger thing so you can highlight your brow bone. I found myself never using this. I feel like this part was just a gimmick sort of, because if I'm gonna highlight my brow bone, I usually do it with the highlighter I'm using on my face or an eyeshadow that goes with my look. So they could have done away with the highlighting side. I also feel like they're being pretty presumptuous about what highlight shade would work with the skin tone of the person who would buy this shade of brow color. Kind of just a weird choice, but it does make me more open to trying pen style brow products. So I'm excited to kind of explore that more. In my last Shop My Stash, I sang major praises of the AOA Perfect powder and how that is like now my super holy grail setting powder. So I knew that the one that I chose to test out for the past month was gonna have some pretty big shoes to fill. This is the Honest Beauty Invisible Blurring Loose powder, and it didn't necessarily disappoint, but it wasn't as good. There are a lot of great things about this powder. I don't think that it's the best for baking, which, like I said in the last video, is something new that I'm trying. When I applied an excess amount of this powder for baking purposes, I found it to feel a little gritty almost, but if I was just dusting it all over my face in a thin veil, then it felt very light and it really smoothed out my skin. I do prefer the packaging on this powder though over like any other powder that I own. When you untwist the cap, you'll find a flip up barrier that protects the powder and the sifter and keeps everything neat. So every time you open it, you're not gonna get a plume of dust. On top of that, the sifter is actually mesh. It's not just like a plastic grate, which is a lot easier to get product out of by just tapping your brush onto the mesh. So overall, very decent powder. I just wouldn't use it for baking, but I would absolutely reach for it if I was just setting my makeup and wanted a very blurred finish. All right, let's talk about the two eyeshadow palettes that I chose to test out over the past 6 weeks. So first up, we have Alter Ego, the Sahara palette. Alter Ego is sort of a smaller indie brand. They're only available online, but they're very affordable. And this is the second eyeshadow palette that I've tried from them and really love their quality. The other thing about Alter Ego is that they're sort of known for duping palettes. Because I'm a budget beauty creator, I don't often recognize what palettes they're actually duping. I just kind of look at the colors and I'm like, oh, that's pretty. But I do think someone told me that this was a Natasha Denona dupe. All of these shades are so pigmented and you can pick up so much color and pack it on, blend it out, and it still looks really strong. However, with that said, and this was my experience with the other Alter Ego palette that I tried in the past, they are so messy. You can see my palette. It's just incredibly dusty. You get a lot of kick up with these shades because they are soft in order for you to be able to pick up all that color to apply. All of these shades blended in so beautifully with one another. If you are a fan of warm neutrals, this is a very solid palette. However, and this kind of surprised me, you all know how much I complain about when palettes don't have enough mattes in them. Out of the 15 shades, there are only 3 glitter shimmer shades, and I actually wish there were 1 or 2 more, just to give a few more options to use as either highlights or lid colors. But you know I love me my mattes, so I wasn't too mad about it. Switching gears, because the next product I have to say was probably the most disappointing that I tried over the past 6 weeks. The Juvia's Place Afrique by Juvia's palette. I'm actually incredibly shocked that I didn't like this, but it just didn't perform up to par with all of the other Juvia's Place products that I've tried in the past. I know Juvia's Place to be like super pigmented and easy to use and just like out of this world for the price. This was just like, ugh. Yes, when you swatch them, they look super, super bright and bold, but as soon as you try to like blend out the edges, they sheer out and become almost gray toned or just a little bit muddy. So I found myself blending out shades to get rid of harsh lines and then repacking it on to boost the vibrancy, but then that would look harsh again. So then I would blend it out again, and it just became this cycle of trying to maintain its color while also getting a smooth blend going, and I was just not successful. This look today is probably the most successful that I was, but even still, my look today I feel translates a lot more jewel toned than the colors look in the palette. Like, there are no jewel tones here. With any type of blending, I lost color intensity, and blending some of the shades together just didn't look good. And this is completely different from my normal experience with the brand, so that's why I was so surprised. And yes, I was able to achieve looks that I ended up liking with this palette, but they were always like me settling for how they turned out instead of having them look like what I wanted them to look like, which was translating the shade as it looks in the pan onto my face. On the flip side though, I had also pulled the Juvia's Place Serafina blush, and this is probably my favorite blush ever now. And even though it looks pretty bright and bold, I found it to match every look that I created. Probably because it does lean more neutral, it's not super warm, and you could also sheer it out so it wasn't as intense. Super easy to use, super easy to blend, looked great on the skin, so this was a win. The contour slash bronzer product I was using all month was the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder Palette. Now I did actually really like this formula despite only really using the bottom two shades. It's pigmented but very easy to blend and sheer out if you want something more subtle. One gripe that I had though is that the shades translated a lot warmer on the skin than they do in the pan. I felt like this bottom corner, it looks pretty neutral, maybe just a tad warm, but it definitely looks a lot warmer on my face. I don't necessarily mind so much for summer, but I'd love to see this formula in something a bit cooler. The mascara that I pulled last time was the Rimmel Scandalized Volume On Demand Mascara. Now, this one I included in one of those trying new makeup products videos, and I remember my first impression wasn't that great. It definitely grew on me, but my expectations had to shift because volume is in the name, so you expect like, I don't know, thickening to happen. And here's the thing, like if I didn't wipe off the excess product on my brush, yeah, I'd get thickening, but it would look like 4 really thick lashes. But if I took the time to wipe off all the excess product and then went through my lashes, I got a really pretty fluttery, lengthy look without a lot of volume. I like how my lashes look with this, but I don't think it was necessarily what the product advertised to be. All right, finally, let's talk about the lip products that I pulled. So I already knew that I loved the Clean Fresh Tinted Lip Oil. I probably used this the most out of what I chose. This allowed me to get a really nice, like juicy and plump look, and it actually felt really good and moisturizing on the lips. Now, the other product that I was really interested in trying long term was the Physicians Formula Rosé Kiss All Day Lip Color. They come in both a glossy and matte finish. I was actually really surprised with how long the color lasts with these, especially the mattes. Like this color hung onto my lips all day throughout eating and drinking. Also, the matte one is very comfortable for a matte. It doesn't feel dry at all. It doesn't look dry. It actually smoothed out a lot of lines on my lips. Now, I feel like the main downside with these, and I read this a lot when other people review them, is the fact that they're not retractable, they're not twist up. You do actually have to sharpen these like a pencil. I have the NYX pencil sharpener. It's a dual sharpener, so there's 2 sizes. I believe this was like $5 at Ulta, and these fit. And it sharpens them very well without them splitting or breaking. So just a tip if you bought these and then you're like, oh no, how do I sharpen them? So that's everything that I've been using for the past month and a half, almost exclusively. Now it's time to shop my stash for the next round of products. Okay, let's start out with my foundation drawer. So this is gonna be a little tough because this is the month where I sort of change shades the most drastically. So I would really like to go for the L'Oreal Fresh Wear because of how well it did in my summer foundation test video. And I probably should because this shade is not gonna last me much longer if I go outside for like another weekend. You know, one foundation that I did not include in that test, but I am curious to see how it would do in the summer is the Maybelline Super Stay Foundation. This is a full coverage foundation and I believe it's a 24-hour one, yeah. So I'd be interested in seeing how this does in the heat. So why don't we test that out since we already know that the L'Oreal Infallible does amazing. We don't necessarily need to test it out any further. Now, in terms of concealer, I already had this one in mind, the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser. I love how this looked freshly applied when I used it in my throwback makeup video, but it broke up on me really badly. And with so many people who still swear by it, I really want to figure out how to make it work for me. All right, next up is the liner, brows, and mascara drawer. So in terms of brows, nothing new has really hit my collection besides the Ulta Beauty Ultra Slim Brow Pencil. And this looks so similar to a lot of other brow pencils that I like, including the Benefit Precisely My Brow. I just love precise brow pencils like this. They're my preferred brow product of choice. So why don't we see how that holds up in like the 110-degree weather that we're expecting this summer and have already experienced. I finally got my hands on the original Lash Princess, which a lot of you said works better than the waterproof one in terms of like clumping and stuff. This one here is the Volume Stylist Lash Extension, which just like from applying both of them one time, I kind of liked this one better. And then I also have the Essence I Love Extreme Volume Mascara, which is also waterproof. Not sure I want to be wearing waterproof mascara every day though. Oh, and I did get a fresh tube of the Believe Beauty Voluminize Mascara, which is one that I already know that I love. So you know what? Why don't I pick the Lash Princess, because this is the mascara that so many of you comment about all the time. So I really want to kind of see if it lives up to the hype when used regularly. Okay, let's talk liner. I have two liquid liners that are relatively new in my collection, and one of them actually reminds me a lot of the NYX one that I swear by. This is the Essence Super Precise Eyeliner. It is waterproof and it has the brush tip that I love eyeliners to have. I feel like I have so much more control with this type of applicator versus a felt tip, especially for winged liner. Now the other option is from Hard Candy. This is the Stroke of Gorgeous Little Black Dress Liner. This is a felt tip. But with that said, you know, we had a pretty decent experience with a felt tip last month, so I am willing to go into it a little bit more open-minded. Although that swatch is kind of watery looking, is it not? Here, let's check out the Essence one. I mean, that pigment though. Okay, I think I wanna go with the Essence one. All right, the drawer we love to hate, my bronzers and blushes. Now, okay, in terms of blush, I know that I had already said that this month I was gonna choose a cream blush. So let's pull these out. I'm seeing them right away. The CoverGirl Clean Fresh Cream Blush. This is their vegan line, all about sort of a fresh-faced look. Ooh, flushed looks really, really pretty as a summer blush shade. There was one more though, I think. Here's the other one, Sweet Innocence. So I think I'm gonna choose those two because those are sort of more summer shades. Sweet Innocence I could probably get away with using for like no makeup looks. Okay, what are we gonna do about contour though? I really don't have a lot of options. Ooh, I wonder if this is gonna be dark enough for my summer shade. Oh, honey, no, no, no. That looks more like blush on my tan skin. How about we go back to the Physicians Formula Sculpting Bronzer? I know I like it, so that's an option. What else? The classic Wet n Wild makeup stick. You know what? Yeah, let's go with the Physicians Formula one because it is an organic product. It's made with like oils and butters and stuff, so I am interested to see how this holds up against a sweaty day. This is gonna be like a sweat-proof makeup test version of my Shop My Stash. Now, it's not really fair that I keep like promising some of you what I'm gonna choose next time when I pass over something you're interested in, because then we don't have like the shopping element. So I know that I told some of you that I would be choosing the Balm Mary Duminizer. So that I feel like I just need to pull because so many of you are expecting that. But let's just do one more. So we do have the ColourPop Sticks highlighter. This is new in my collection. I featured it in my glowy drugstore makeup routine. And this is sort of a peachy highlight. Oh my God, that is so pretty. So that's another good contender, especially because we are working with more cream products this time for the face. We also have the corresponding Physicians Formula Dewy Highlighter, which I know works well with the contour. Pixie has some really good options. There's the Glow Cake, which is sort of a luminizing blush. If we really wanted to go all out, I could use the Bretman Rock highlighter, which is basically just glitter. Absolutely beautiful, but I will have glitter on my face for the next 6 weeks. It's one of those products where, you know, you put glitter on, you just keep finding it in random places. So I think I am gonna go ahead and stick to these two choices because I definitely need to use this Mary Duminizer before it's like actually expired. I don't know how long ago I got it. I mean, it still looks pretty dang gorgeous swatched, so hopefully it looks great on my face still. Okay, I forgot to pick a powder when we were up in this drawer originally, so let's see what the options are. So I've got this Essence All About Matte, which is a waterproof powder. I know that this works really well and would probably be a good choice for summer, but I wouldn't really be able to like bake with it, which is now something I'm obsessed with since I tried that AOA powder. Let's see what else we have. That's Makeup Forever. It's more of a special occasion kind of powder. Ooh, classic Rimmel Stay Matte. This is a new powder that I have, but I have not heard great things about, the Hard Candy Translucent No Flash Powder. I heard that it does its job in terms of like setting your makeup without providing flashback, but every video I've seen about this becomes so shiny at the end of the day, which I don't think I need right now. Maybe one of these days I'll test it out, but I don't want to really commit to that. Ooh, okay, wait. This is something new to my collection, the Catrice HD Baking and Setting Loose Powder. This one also says water resistant and it's mattifying. So I think that would be a really good option for the summer and just with kind of my new routine. So let's try that. This is very bulky though. And now we have the liquid lipstick and gloss drawer. Now I'm actually really surprised at myself how much I've been gravitating toward glosses and lip oils. They're just more comfortable to wear right now for sure. So let me pull a few that are kind of jumping out at me right now. Okay, first of all, definitely gonna add this in to the rotation, the Ulta Beauty Tinted Juice Infused Lip Oil. Again, I used this in a recent video. I absolutely loved how it felt, so I'm gonna try that out long term. And then here are some other options that kind of stood out to me. So I have two of the lip glosses from the Bretman Rock Jungle Rock collection with Wet n Wild. I did do a video about most of the products in this collection, and I did like the feel of the gloss, but I've only done that one first impression, so it might be nice to test that out. I also just got my hands on a bunch of these Essence Shine 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 lip glosses. This is the shade Flirt Alert, which I think is a really pretty sort of hot coral, maybe? I'm not really sure how to describe this. Watermelon? And then another newer product in my collection is the Syrup Kiss Lip Stain from Hard Candy, which does in general look kind of glossy, but I am interested in like how it actually works as a lip stain, although I'm not sure that shade is gonna be super flattering on me this season. I think I'm gonna go with the Jungle Rock lip glosses because this collection as a whole was a little hit or miss for me, so I'd like to give it more of a chance beyond just my first impression video. All right, last drawer, we've got the palettes. So right off the bat, I do have this newer palette from Catrice. I actually don't know if this is new in terms of being released. It's just new to my collection because they sent me a bunch of stuff. Badass Bay. It does look like sort of a warmer neutrals palette. Not sure if we are tired of that. Maybe we just want to go super bold this month, but that's an option because I've never tried Catrice eyeshadows, I don't really think. Maybe we should pick something from like the back of the drawer. That should be a challenge. Back of the drawer. Shop my stash. What even is this one? Oh, yeah, maybe not. Maybe we should declutter this one. Okay. This one might be nice to go back into the NYX Modern Dreamer palette. It is one of their more expensive palettes, so it'd be nice to really get use out of it actually, because I think I've only dipped into this a handful at most. It would be interesting to give this palette a second shot as well because it didn't really have the best go during my first impression video. Again, it was sort of hit or miss, and I think we could get some really, really fun summer looks out of this. Ooh, I do love myself some Kokie palettes. This one's a little bit muted though. You know what, let's stick with just the Modern Dreamer palette this month because there's obviously so many options in this palette and I want to get to know my way around all of them because again, NYX is one of those brands where products either really work well for me or they are total flops, and this one has been somewhere in between. So I'd like to have like a more definitive opinion about this eyeshadow palette. And we're done. Out of the products I chose today, what are you most excited to hear more about? Let me know in the comments below. Today's shout out goes to Hannah. Thanks for being a member of the Slashed Squad. And join me over in this video next where I talk about the beauty products I am no longer buying and why. I'll see you over there. Bye.